On today's episode, we push bonded bullets through gel.
And deer scapulas.
Things might get a little messy. Welcome to Cartridge Talks. Everybody ready?
Sound of a hat. Yeah.
Welcome everybody to Cartridge Talks, and welcome to the Bonded Bullet Showdown. Ryan, it's no secret, I'm a big fan of bonded bullets. I've been shooting them a long time. In fact, I've been shooting them since 1999 when they introduced the original Swift Scirocco 1. There's no question a bonded bullet performs, but let's talk about what a bonded bullet is.
Sure. Similar to a cup and core in that it's bimetal, lead and copper, but chemically fused to the jacket itself. Higher weight retention, better mechanical integrity.
I've personally shot on game most of the bullets that we're going to test today. I'm really excited to see how they perform in gel with the shoulder blades that we have set up. Let's put these things to the test.
Game plan for today, we are on the 100-yard range with a Ruger American Gen 2 chambered in .308 Winchester, the greatest cartridge ever made. It is equipped with a Viper HD 2-10, a Mac Brothers Zenith suppressor. We have a smattering of ammunition in front of us. Let's put these to gel and see what shakes out. First up on the bonded bullet test, the new 172 grain Speer Impact loaded in the Remington Premier Long Range. So on impact, the shoulder blade ejected from the block in a very catastrophic manner. It was beautiful to watch from the optics perspective. Let's go look at it.
Ryan, that was visually stimulating.
Yeah, it's different.
Punched through the shoulder blade, ejected it from the block. Excellent mushroom, incredible weight retention. I see just a little flake there, a little bit of material loss, but I mean, negligible. That's impressive.
22 inches. Marco?
I got this. Look at that, Ryan. Get some of the goo off it. Bam.
Wow.
On to the next?
Yes.
The Bonded Bullet Showdown continues with the 180 grain Federal Fusion tipped. Everybody ready? It really is impressive just watching that shoulder blade disintegrate. What do you got for penetration?
I'm going to call it 23 3/4.
I'm seeing basically zero material loss and an excellent mushroom as intended.
Good bullet. Continuing on with the 175 grain Terminal Ascent from Federal. .26.
Not bad.
Not at all. No. See the tip, right, actually tip material right up front.
And
just
there,
past
though.
there, yeah. And looks pretty gravy.
Solid penetration, nice mushroom. I'm not finding fault on any of these yet.
No.
I didn't think I would either.
Let's cut her out of there.
Well, we got her.
Look at that.
That is cool, man.
Do it again.
Next up, a new one for Ryan and I, the 180 grain Norma Bond Strike. see what this thing did. Oh, wow.
Wow.
Lost the tip, or most of it, before even getting to the shoulder blade.
We have a new record holder. That's 29.5. 29.5.
Right over just the top one time. There you go. That's all we needed.
Pull this out of a hat. Look at that.
Look at that. Shiny.
Fair bit more curl back than the others. Next up for the Bonded Bullet Showdown, the 168 ABLR from Nosler.
All right, let's see what the old ABLR did, Ryan.
There it is.
There she blows.
We'll call that 24.5.
Pretty cool, Ryan.
Lots of bone material getting pulled through, which is what we've been seeing. Curiously, there's some jacket material up front here, even before we get to the scapula. So we were at deployment, but looks very normal. Shall we excise, Doctor?
Let's.
Just a perfect extract.
Bam, I got it. I got it.
You can tell that's an ABLR because of the way it is. Just hold it still for just a second.
No, you gotta chase it. All right, last but definitely not least in our Bonded Bullet Showdown, we have the 165 grain Swift Scirocco 2. Let's see how she does. All right, let's have a look-see. Oh, dang.
Dang is right.
That is super impressive.
This one kind of has the most going for it in the wound channel department.
Tons of penetration.
Yeah.
Excellent permanent wound cavity. Went through a pretty thick part of the bone there.
Yep.
I'd say 27? Yeah, 27.
Oh, easy.
Oh, there we go. Well, that was a little aggressive. I admit that. Here. Oh, look at that. Very nice. Ryan, we've shot some of the most prominent bonded bullets today through shoulder blades into gel. Let's analyze the results.
Let's go check the data.
All right, we finished the lab experiment. Welcome to the analytics portion of today's lecture. Ryan, we've shot all of these bullets and we have them here before us. We're gonna go through some of their numbers, some of their attributes. Again, why the bonded bullet?
So a bonded bullet, again, differentiation between bonded and cup and core. Cup and core bullet, very standard, copper jacket around a lead core. The bonded takes it another step forward, or further than that, by either electrochemically or chemically bonding that jacket to the core itself. We end up with a tougher bullet, higher weight retention, more integrity.
I mean, essentially it prevents jacket core separation.
Yes.
Like you said, high weight retention. These bullets are built to stay together, mushroom, and drive deep.
Yes.
Ryan, this is the Bonded Bullet Showdown. But are there any bullet styles, constructions that's not on the table today? Anything of note that you have a strong affinity for?
I don't see any solid copper projectiles, Mark.
And we don't, because this is the Bonded Bullet Showdown. But why don't we compare the two a little bit?
Well, that's a good point. I think with a bonded bullet, and especially a bonded bullet that's executed correctly, you are going to reap a lot of the benefits that I have been very fond of in monolithic bullet designs with a bonded bullet design. And actually you might get a few ancillary benefits that the monolithics might leave off the table in general, namely profile, ballistic coefficient, and potentially a lower operating window too, depending on, again, that bullet design.
When you're talking a lower operating window of like expansion velocity, like
correct,
it would expand at a lower velocity.
Correct.
Yeah.
And if you are a shooter who's looking for the integrity that you would want out of a monolithic, but those performance values that typically cup and cores give you, a bonded is the spot to be. And the selection of bonded bullets here in front of us is not all of the bonded bullets currently on the American market. We curated these for a couple of attributes, namely a higher ballistic coefficient, a more aerodynamic drag profile, trying to get us closer to, I think, what's really in vogue for bullet technology today, geared up towards kind of the more intermediate to longer range marksman or woman. These are as close to like that magic bullet as you can get from a performance value system, or standard rather.
I mean, these are pretty slippery bullets by and large. We're talking polymer tips, boat tail designs, high BCs. I don't know, like, I definitely am biased, but kind of a best of all worlds with these things.
It is kind of a Goldilocks bullet. Shall we start measuring things?
Let's.
Can we just start, Mark, with the new Remington Premier long range loading?
I think we should. That's where we started today.
So this is a new bullet for Mark and I both. This is the first time that we've worked with this particular projectile. And I gotta say, this is the first one we shot in the gel. Very impressed right off the get-go. So it started out at 172 grains fired weight. I'm gonna give you an expanded diameter maximum here. We're at 0.892 inches. Mark, if you would, give me a weight on the old scale.
We're at 170.7.
Yes.
Pretty impressive.
We lost 2 grains of mass after passing through a scapula and then penetrating 22 inches of depth. That's pretty astounding. 2,600 feet per second launch velocity. Again, very aerodynamically sound bullet. This would be a really good long-range Western hunting projectile out of a 308.
I mean, it performed incredibly. What were we looking at for penetration?
22 inches.
22 inches.
Yeah.
I mean, super solid. I mean, this might be the broadest frontal area, expansion-wise, that we've seen today.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Cool. Next up in the analysis is the new Fusion Tipped from Federal. This is a bullet I am particularly excited about because I have some past history with the Fusion, which was a fairly standard looking bullet, exposed lead tip, somewhat unassuming. The Fusion Tipped version, much higher BC, more aggressive profile, catering again to what is really in vogue for some of these newer shooters, and really quite an astute long-range option.
I'll tell you what else is in vogue about this particular bullet, Ryan, is the price tag. I'd say generally with bonded bullets, they carry a pretty high price tag in loaded ammunition. These guys are the everyman's option.
Agreed. So a few things about the Fusion Tipped here. We had a launch mass of 180 grains. We had a launch velocity of 25-35. We had a recovered diameter of 861.
And a weight of
183.1.
It's a little heavier because there's a bunch of goo stuck under the bullet. That was good for 23 3/4 inches of penetration.
That is significant.
That's a hammer.
Nice work.
It's a good bullet. Next up, the very famous Federal Terminal Ascent. This is a bullet that has mystified and eluded me at the same time for several years. Some people have said that this is, in fact, the magic bullet. It's hyper accurate, it's very efficient, it has an incredible operating window, it is bonded, very high BC, very interesting bullet. It was exciting to shoot it today. So the Terminal Ascent had a fired mass of 175 grains, left the muzzle at 2540 out of our little Ruger American Gen 2. Recovered diameter of 0.712. What do you get for a mass on that, Marco?
169.8.
And
They're losing nothing.
yeah, 26 inches of penetration. So while it had a smaller frontal diameter at expansion, I think that did well for it with penetrative capability, and which it's still an exceptional frontal diameter. I mean, it's 3/4 of an inch. It still went 26 inches into the gel after smashing through the scapula.
I know a lot of prominent hunters who are shooting a lot of critters annually. This is one of their go-tos.
Yep.
Next on the docket, we had the 180 grain Norma Bond Strike. Ryan, this is the first time I fired one of these things, and we got to do it in a pretty cool way. And I got to say, I was really impressed with the performance.
Yeah, this is a bullet that I became aware of last year, coming into the United States, finally, and very excited to see how it did, and it did very, very well. So launch weight was 180 grains in the Bond Strike. A little bit different right off the bat when you're looking at the recovered projectile. This one had, I would say, the most abrupt curl out of all of them. Still a bonded projectile, but definitely had the most disruption to its pedal structure. So again, 180 grain launch weight, Launch velocity of 24.95 out of the little Ruger. Recovered diameter of 0.709. That netted us 29.5 inches of penetration, by the way.
Recovered weight of
173.4.
notable, I'd say, was the penetration this guy got at 29.5 inches.
Yeah.
That's significant.
Yeah, and I think, again, smaller frontal area on that bullet going through that block, so less resistance on it. Heavier mass, so it was 180 grains. Some of these other bullets were slightly lighter than that. And then a modest launch velocity. Remember, we're not smacking that block with such high velocity that we have this huge energy transfer and it strips away its penetrative capability, which we've seen in the past with other bullets. But nonetheless, that's exciting to see. That was one I was really looking forward to.
Next up, we fired the 168 grain Nosler Accubond LR. Ryan, you like to call it the Abler. I like to call it the enabler when it comes to taking down big game, something I've done a bit of with this particular bullet. A muzzle velocity of 26.85, 24.5 inches of penetration. Like we said, 168 grains to start with. Let's see what this thing weighs.
Go ahead.
Upon recovery.
145.2.
So definitely lost a little bit of material, but I don't know. It did everything I was going to ask of a bullet at the same time.
Oh yeah. So across the flats, we're at 0.781 at the widest point on the ABLR.
Okay.
So this is a very famous bullet. This is one that I've been enamored by for many years. Really quite a keen projectile, American classic. It's been an available offering from Nosler for some time now. And a really great bullet. I just can't say enough about it.
Last up, in our lowest grain weight projectile of the day, the 165 grain Swift Scirocco 2. I've always been a fan of the original Swift Scirocco. I've shot the Swift Scirocco 2, killed a handful of critters with this one as well. This is like the unsung hero of bonded bullets, in my opinion.
It is, and it's also a rare bullet. You don't see this as a component very often. You don't see this in factory loaded ammunition often enough. This is a pretty special bullet and has always had incredible performance values. I mean, even since the original, it was one of the raciest projectiles on the market when it was released, way back when, and has maintained that kind of sleek, sexy, dragster appeal for the whole time. And I just don't see enough black tip bullets out in the field hunting. This thing is pretty remarkable.
Hashtag agree. Coming out the pipe at 26.60, like we said. 165 grains to start. Ryan, I'll get you to measure this thing in a second.
158.8.
I mean, basically we lost the tip.
Yep.
And this thing went through, I think we commented on it earlier, I mean, a significant portion of that bone and had incredible penetration at 27 inches.
It did, and had one of the more impressive permanent wound cavities too. And this is really subjective. We're not hitting that scapula in the exact same spot every single time with the bullet. It's very difficult to do, and there's just differences in the scapula. Like it's an individual animal that we're using that material from. So a little bit of variance there, but this one plowed through the scapular ridge. Mark hit it about as square as you could get it in probably the worst part of the bone. Let's get a measurement on that. I would say this one has the most comical disruption pattern. We have a width of 0.848. So quite a frontal diameter, and especially considering it went through 27 inches of gel after passing through the scapula. That's a pretty special bullet.
Yeah, I really liked that one a lot, Ryan. I really liked all of these a lot. I wouldn't hesitate to take any of them in the field if they're the one that shot well out of my rifle.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. And that's a big thing to think about too. We didn't do an accuracy requirement or component to this because, well, we're using one rifle, and one rifle might not love all these different bullets. It might have a preference, and your rifle might have something different. We did collect some chronograph data, so that was really interesting to see how these things were performing, especially in a heavier weight for a cartridge like 308 and in a shorter barrel format like that little Ruger. But these things were pretty slick. I've walked away from this analysis, I guess, with some new hope, some new excitement for some of these new bullets. I think all of them are going to be stellar big game slayers.
I think so too. I mean, really what we did today was confirmed what I thought I knew, just from shooting these projectiles at big game and getting the results that I was getting. But it's really cool to see up close and personal with that visual, and it's good to, like I said, confirm what you think you know.
Yeah, absolutely. It was fun to incorporate the scapula into it too. I think that's a very realistic addition to the test.
Well, and that's where these bullets shine, right?
Yeah.
Heavy bone, dense muscle, big critters, tough shot angles, all the things that you might encounter in the field. These things are going to get the job done.
Mark, I had a ton of fun today.
Ryan, I did as well. If I wasn't bonded to bonded bullets prior to our testing, which I was, I certainly am now.
And if you want to learn more about bonded bullets, join Mark and I on the Vortex Nation podcast when we dive deeper into bonded bullet technology, when you should use them, or why you should be using them on your next hunt.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next one.